Hello everybody and welcome back to Currency Revalue, your number one source for the most critical updates on Iraq's economic future and global currency news that impacts every one of us watching today. If you've been following this channel, you know we don't do fluff. We go straight into the core of what's happening in the currency world because in this game, timing and information are everything. And today's update is one of the most dramatic we've had in a long time. We're talking about two currencies that sit at the center of global speculation, the Iraqi Dinar and the Vietnamese Dong. And right now, they're both generating shockwaves across forums, guru intel sites, and financial blogs. We're seeing rate predictions so bold, they almost sound impossible at first glance. But when you peel back the layers, when you analyze the momentum behind these moves, you start to realize something bigger might be brewing. Let's start with the Vietnamese Dong, because this is where the firestorm of debate really kicked off over the past few days. A question is circulating everywhere in Telegram rooms, in Dinar Guru chats, on X threads, even whispered in investment circles. What's the real potential for the Dong? Where could it realistically land when it revalues now? According to intel from sources like Marxi, and yes, that name keeps coming up for a reason, we're seeing two competing schools of thought. On one side, a strong belief the Dong will debut around the low 2 range. That alone would be life-changing for many. Imagine holding just 1 million Dong, something anyone could have picked up for less than 50, suddenly worth $2 million overnight. That's not just a financial upgrade, that's generational wealth for some families. But here's the twist: other highly placed voices are pushing an even bolder narrative. They're saying the Dong could come out in the low 3 range. And that's where things get electrifying. Because the difference between a 2 rate and a 3 rate doesn't sound like much on paper, but in real numbers it's the difference between doubling your payout or tripling it. For serious holders, people sitting on stacks of tens of millions, it's the kind of spread that means the difference between comfort and outright dynasty building wealth. Now, this debate isn't just random speculation. It's rooted in very different economic models of how Vietnam could handle such a massive move. Those leaning toward the conservative 2 camp argue Vietnam will have to control inflationary pressure. After all, we're talking about a country with a large money supply in circulation. If they go too high, too fast, they risk destabilizing their own domestic market. For them, 2 is already a monumental leap, one that would need incredible foreign reserves, asset backing, and GDP growth to hold steady. This view is cautious, gradualist. It says, yes, Vietnam is undervalued, yes, it deserves a correction, but stability has to come before fireworks. On the flip side, the 3 camp paints a different picture. They're looking at Vietnam's rise through a global lens. They see the manufacturing boom, the steady migration of supply chains out of China and into Vietnam, the sheer volume of foreign direct investment flowing in, and they argue, this isn't just an emerging economy anymore, this is a rising giant. Add to that Vietnam's natural resources and strategic trade position, and suddenly, a higher launch point doesn't seem that crazy. Especially if, and this is key, the revaluation comes as part of a larger, coordinated global reset where multiple currencies are realigned together. If that happens, the 3 figure starts to look less like fantasy and more like a calculated reset benchmark. So where does that leave us, the investors? Somewhere in between the excitement and the caution. Because here's the truth: both predictions agree on one central fact: the Dong is deeply undervalued. The only debate is how aggressively the correction will play out. A 2 rate points to a slow, steady rise. A 3 rate points to a sharp, dramatic reset. Either way, the question isn't if, it's when. And that shift in language from if it happens to when it happens, that's the most bullish signal of all. But let us not lose sight of what really matters here on currency revalue. Because while the dong is heating up, the Iraqi dinar just dropped a headline that shakes the ground under everything we've been waiting for. And this one comes straight from Iraq's own public discussion forums and media outlets. The title of the article says it all: deleting 3 zeros from the dinar, citizens' concerns, and experts' warnings. Now, we've seen chatter about deleting the zeros before. But this time is different. This isn't background noise. This is the Central Bank of Iraq moving the conversation front and center. And if you read between the lines, this isn't just theory anymore. This is preparation. Here's why the timing is everything. For months now, the CBI has been careful talking about strengthening the dinar, restoring value, reforming the monetary system. Always vague, always careful. But this article, this is specific. This is them openly asking citizens how they feel about deleting the zeros. This is them highlighting expert warnings. That's not filler. That's a conditioning strategy. When central banks want to pull the trigger on big changes, they first soften the ground. They make the public familiar with the idea, so when it actually happens, the shock factor is lower. And that's exactly what this looks like. But here's where the confusion sets in for a lot of people, and I see it in the comments, I see it on the forums. Deleting the zeros doesn't necessarily mean wiping out your wealth. It's crucial to understand the difference between a LOP and a revaluation. In a LOP, yes, the denomination shifts 25,000 dinar becomes 25 dinar, but the value per note doesn't change. In a revaluation, the zeros stay, but the value of each dinar skyrockets. That's the dream scenario. That's what every investor holding stacks of dinar is hoping for, that one day, a 25,000 note exchanges for 25,000 or more, without a single zero disappearing. So naturally, when the words delete the zeros hit headlines, panic follows. People think, wait, are they about to erase my wealth? And that's why this is such a heated debate. Because if the CBI goes with a LOP alone, holders gain nothing. If they pair it with a revaluation, then the story changes completely. And right now, it feels like we're standing right on that dividing line. I want to be clear with all of you, I'm in the same boat as every one of you watching this. I don't want to see the zeros gone. I want to see the rate climb while the big notes still matter. That's the dream. A true revaluation. A moment where the CBI doesn't just stabilize the currency but restores it to regional power status. Imagine that. Your 25,000 note exchanging for 1-to-1 or even 2-to-1 with the US dollar. That's the scenario that would change everything. But as investors, we have to keep our eyes open. Because deleting the zeros, if mishandled, comes with massive risks. Experts are warning about confusion in the marketplace, about the costs and logistics of printing and exchanging an entirely new currency set, about fraud risks during the transition. This isn't a small project. It's a complete financial restructuring. The fact they're talking about it openly now tells us they're further along in planning than ever before. So the million-dollar question remains, when the dust settles, what will the new rate actually be? That's the piece they're not saying out loud yet. But make no mistake, this is the final countdown. This isn't rumor mill chatter. This is the CBI itself setting the stage. And when you step back and look at the bigger picture, you start to see the dots connect. The dong's potential surge, the dinar's delete the zeros project, the whispers of a global reset, it all lines up. It suggests we're not just looking at isolated moves, but a coordinated shift in how undervalued currencies are about to be treated on the world stage. That's why this moment is so critical for us as a community. It's no longer about waiting for some far-off maybe. It's about bracing for what looks more and more like an inevitable change. We don't know if the dinar will revalue with the zeros intact or after they've been deleted. We don't know if the dong launches at 2 or 3. But we do know this, both are moving. And both are moving fast. So my message tonight is simple. Stay sharp. Stay ready. Keep filtering the noise and focus on credible signals. Watch the CBI's next move like a hawk, because the next announcement could be the one that changes everything. Thank you so much for tuning into Currency Revalue. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. And drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the dong hits 3? Do you think the CBI will keep the zeros or lop them? I read every single comment because this channel is about all of us navigating this together. Until next time, take care, stay hopeful, and remember the winds of change are blowing stronger than ever. Our patience may finally be on the edge of reward.